wait, we're just a second. I'll tell you when we're live. We're live. Go ahead.
Sorry. To receive report from the police constable Whiteside. Do we have anything from Paul?
The last report we had from Paul was in July. It highlighted different ways that you'll be getting your crime updates and reports now, and I will investigate that a little bit further. The only thing on there was for Alton Barnes, which they had an incident on the 11th of July as unknown suspects that smashed the rear window behind the driver's seat, so obviously in a vehicle, and stolen various items from inside. But I don't have anything more to build on that. That'll be part of the minutes, and the crime report will be on the website, so people will have a view of it. But
may I ask you something, Elizabeth?
Certainly.
Is this the time there've been a couple, I believe there've been 2 crashes quite seriously on the road going up to the White Horse. At least one. Is there any report about that at all?
I've had nothing, which I'm happy to make a note and I can follow up with.
Does anybody else know anything about that?
Yeah, when it started to rain, as soon as it rained, obviously the road got greasy. And he was going up the hill and didn't make it around the corner and went straight up into the same place where everybody crashes.
They must be going very fast to go up there.
He would have been going very fast, but the police are out straight away, and it was recovered within 40 minutes. They pulled out.
Anything else on that one? Can I move us on? Paul, unfortunately, hasn't joined us, and I think it's because his computer was hacked. So I think I better move on to now. This is where you would like to read Charles Rice's
statement
announcement to the council.
So I haven't had him join. Just for the record, he's not joined this evening and said he may not be able to with his connection. So this is the statement I received this afternoon. Just 2 brief points, please. I've timed myself, and what I have to say lasts less than 2 minutes. The first point concerns the number of Honey Street residents who signed this letter of support for the various developments around the Mill House site. And just for clarification on this statement, I will say that I will be introducing this letter in my clerk's report, just so that people who are actually observing this meeting understand what I'm reading about. 17 signatures, the accurate figure, may seem a small number. In fact, it represents getting on for half the population of the village, which totals about 40. I am certain the opponents could not gather the same number of signatures. If I'm right, it means the supporters are actually in the majority. In this respect, I'm afraid there is a gap between the views of the residents and the views of the parish council, which has opposed every single proposal. This will matter when it comes to the development of 5 or 6 new houses on that same site. This is why we now request the PC to put the letter on the record to correct any misleading impressions that the majority of the village is generally hostile. Putting on the record will require a member of the parish council to state the matter specifically for the minutes. We request that this be done, and we hope the letter will not be met by snide comment or attack. My second and final point concerns the last lines of the letter, which say that any issues can and should be resolved by cooperation and dialogue. Parish councilors have a special place in the community and special responsibilities. The Parish Council Code of Conduct says they should at all times behave in a way which is, and I quote, respectful. Of course, there will be disagreements, but parish councilors, even if they feel someone is misbehaving, should not be hostile to any member of our community, and I hope they won't be.
Thank you. Thank you, Charles.
Okay, can I speak?
Yes, certainly.
Can I say that I actually require that the matter is recorded on the minutes?
Yes,
they've asked for that to be done. We have to do that.
I would second that, Polly.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
And also, I would like to just bring to everybody's attention the last line of it said, and I've ringed it well before Charles's message. We hope and believe that any issue can be dealt with in a spirit of cooperation and the use of constructive dialogue. Well, that is what I would hope to do. Is everybody in agreement with that?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Are we allowed to move on now to the agenda proper?
So now you may open the meeting officially. Yes, absolutely.
Unless anybody's got any comments they want to add to that. Fine. So we'll move on. Received apologies. We've had official apologies from Michael, and we've had apologies from Paul because of his computer problems. Is that it?
That's all I've had. Yes. Yeah.
Do we have any declarations of interest in this meeting to declare? Are we okay to go on? Minutes of the previous meeting. I hope you've all read them. I have. They're on the minutes that what do you call it? The what's the terminology? Support documents. Have you all read the minutes? Because I've read it and I think it's correct.
Yes.
Yeah.
Can I take that it's unanimous that I can sign them when I get the hard copy?
Yes.
Yeah.
Anybody against that? Thank you very much. So that's the minutes of the previous meeting. We now come to the chairman's announcements. I would like to mention two things. First of all, the residents' letter from Honey Street. I felt very sad that I had not been told about this in advance, because I think it's something that we could have probably sorted out without having to go that far. But I would like to get it sorted out, and I don't think that is something that we cannot do. I'm sure it's within our power to make this a harmonious village and sort this out. So I'd like any support I can have on that, and I would like to talk to everybody about it. Does everybody agree with me on that? Anybody want to say? Carol, do you want to say anything? 'Cause
Yes, I would like to say maybe we should consider, because so many of us are on the council as well as residents, that we should get somebody separate to actually chair whatever meeting and discussion.
I think that's a very good idea. And in fact, I did actually say that to Elizabeth when this came straight up. So the answer is yes. If you want to between you organize that, I'd be very in favor of that.
As vice chair,
Yes, Polly.
would it be appropriate for me to do that?
I wouldn't have a problem with that. You don't live in the village,
This part.
this part of the village.
I think that would be okay, as far as I'm concerned. That would be very good of you, Polly.
Yeah, I mean, that's, I'm very, very happy to do that.
Right. Well, can we accept Polly's offer?
I'm happy to.
And move on from that. The next thing is that at the end of this meeting, we have a section marked in camera or in private as like a part 2 section. Now, I'm not very in favor of having things in private at all. In fact, I don't like that at all. But Paul got some legal advice from in fact, I might leave Elizabeth to deal with this, but Paul got some legal advice from the Wiltshire solicitor. And basically, you'll correct me if I'm wrong, Elizabeth, he said that if there's anything to do with any personal or private matters to be discussed, we cannot discuss it in open session.
That's correct. Yes.
Zach, so and I would like to reassure every resident that Elizabeth will be taking notes and minutes of this extra additional meeting, and I'm going to ask Polly to chair it, if Polly will. Is that acceptable to everybody?
Yeah.
I also would like the public to be very aware that actually that there would, as you say, there will be minutes, but that this is not an unusual standard when a complaint is made against perhaps a member of a board or a council rather than the body of a council, and it's understanding the innate differences. And it also does not mean that the council is not going to come out with a proper response to the public in general. So, there's nothing that is looking to be, undermine or put it into anything that would be hidden from the public here.
Good.
May I move on, everybody? Does anybody want to say anything? I can move on. So we come to the only planning application, which is planning application 20/06813 full, Honey Street Sawmills. This, as far as I can understand, is a retrospective planning application. Does anybody wish to say anything about it?
I'd say something.
Yes.
I'd say that having looked at it, it's already there. It's on industrial land. It's just part of it's part of the lumber business there. So I don't really think there's any problem with it myself. I think it's fine. I'd support it.
I also would like to say something. It's a brownfield site. It's already done. It's not causing any problems. I totally support it.
I totally support it too, Polly. It's not causing any problems. It's been there for a year or two and nobody's complained.
Absolutely.
Carol, do you want to say anything?
No, I'm totally in support of it.
Hayley?
Yeah, full support of it.
So can the council then say they support it and we move on?
Yeah.
Thank you. I now hand over to Elizabeth for the clerk's report, please.
I'm just going to back up a second because I did notice I made an error. The decisions for 05487 full there's no decision made for that yet. I did check today and that's my error. The next one, 06215, there is approval with conditions, but there's no letter available yet, and I will circulate that once I have it. It's just for the record.
Sorry, I dashed past those. I beg your pardon.
No, that's all right. The only thing, again, the clerk's report, Honey Street letter. Some of the residents from Honey Street collectively put a letter forward, as I mentioned in the public participation section, to the parish council and have asked for this to be formally lodged with the council. So as information, I'm asking the council in this point that you acknowledge the fact you've received it. It will become part of the minutes as the formal meeting is now in session. And obviously you are free to discuss at length what your feelings on this may be. And then I will pick up from after that.
Do we wish to discuss it any further? Because we have had a brief discussion on it. I'm not sure. Carol?
Is this still open to the public at this point?
Yes.
Yeah.
No. This is purely to do with the letter we were sent from Honey Street residents.
Yeah.
And yes, it is open to the public, Carol. Yeah.
It is, yes, indeed it is.
Yeah.
So may I move? Am I correct in thinking that nobody has any further comments, and so we can move on to financial matters?
Yeah, well, providing that it is actually registered on the minutes, that's fine. Yeah.
We have actually said that at the
Good,
in the chairman's report, Polly, as well.
Good.
And we all agreed.
I do have other things, Robert, before we do move on.
Oh,
to
I beg your pardon. Sorry.
That's
Yeah.
okay. Just to let the council know that the clerk payroll has been now set up and I have received a proper payroll run, which will be coming forward to the council as information, as agreed within the contract, which you agreed in May.
That's a relief.
It's taken a while, but it's done okay. We've done all right. The other thing, I received an email from Dennis Smith, and I will say this is where I'm actually going to tap into all of you a bit because I don't live locally to your village. And if you'll forgive me, I'll just read it real quick. It says that this chap had the pleasure of visiting Honey Street for the first time, a lovely spot, which he's sure he will return to again. The purpose of his visit was in pursuit of my retirement project in connection with the World War II airfields. As you have probably guessed, Alton Barns was the object of discovery on this occasion, and in particular, its memorial. After some time, we located a sign announcing the RAF Alton Barnes Memorial, but were unable to locate the memorial itself. Asking a few residents while enjoying the delight of the cafe failed to make any progress. So where is the memorial? That's the first question, and bear with me. The second is we also visited the Armstrong Whitworth Albemarle Memorial on Carnegie Meadow. Is that correct? Is that a correct pronunciation?
Konica.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Finding it would have been much easier had the sign on the canal bank been pointing the correct direction, left instead of right. Still, it was a lovely late afternoon for a stroll. Do you or one of your colleagues have a precise latitude and longitude for its location? Well, I don't have the answer to the first part of the question. And so from my clerk's report, I'm welcoming any help, and it doesn't have to be answered specifically here tonight. It can just be lodged that it is an outstanding query that I would like help with, please.
Okay,
So
I can do
go
that.
back.
I can do
Okay.
that.
Thank you, Polly. And
One of the memorials is in Johnny Dunford's field, next to the field where my horses are.
okay.
And the other one is off the canal bank. Your best person to speak to is David Carson.
Correct.
He instigated the restoration of all these monuments. And
Polly,
his telephone number is 851-826.
Polly, didn't we originally have somewhere near your horse's field an arrow point and a little notice saying it was there?
Yes, and it's still there, but unfortunately Johnny has kind of fenced off stuff.
Right.
So I think the best thing that Elizabeth can do is contact David Carson on 01672 851 826. He is definitely the man to go to for any monuments in the area.
Okay.
Can I just tell you, Elizabeth, David has got written and allowed us to publish a very good history of the aerodrome that is actually on the village website.
Oh, okay.
Several pages, and it tells you all the history, and it's well worth reading if you've never done so.
No, I haven't at this point, so I will make it a point. Thank you. The other thing I wanted to say is that Robert has kindly agreed to sit in on a webinar for the 2nd of October for 1 hour. Parish councils are mandated by national law to have accessibility for people with disabilities to their website. And that is a very specific sort of model of what that means. I am not 100% au fait with every single requirement for it. So I've signed myself up to attend as well on behalf of another council. Robert is going to attend. We will be slightly deficient in timing on this, but some of that has been down to the fact that a lot of the courses for accessibility and websites have obviously during this period of this year been canceled. But we're going to undertake that. Alton is in need of an accessibility statement for its website by law, and that needs to be done by the 23rd of September. So as it is not as it is a statutory requirement, but it is not one that you need to vote on, I am going to endeavor to put up a statement that is in line with government guidance, and we can take that forward as a council, but I'd like to meet the requirement by the 23rd. And then if we need to make adjustments as a council, we can go ahead and do that. But as I said, Robert has kindly agreed to do the 1 hour session with myself on the 2nd of October, and that will be happening.
May I just say something, Elizabeth?
You bet.
I'm very happy to alter the website if asked to, but if I'm asked to do something technical I can't do, then it really might become impossible for me to do it in future.
We'll have to work through that because the outcome of not being compliant can actually cost the village quite dearly if that is the case. So we will, this is a piece of work that we may need to be looking at more formally. And we'll see what transpires on the 2nd of October. I don't want to get anybody worried. I'm just trying to say that this is some of the things that nationally we have to actually meet a standard. And so we'll just work through it. It'll be fine.
Okay, thank you.
The last thing that I have is planning. There is a new planning white paper that has been released or sent out, a draft white paper for consultation. I will be sending that around. There's also 3 documents that have been somewhat digested or pulled out of the white paper. Nationally, they are changing the planning process and what it means across all of England going forward. And you have an opportunity as a council to make comment on that through the consultation. And from a clerk's perspective, I would really recommend, especially looking at the planning that's come to you so far and maybe what could potentially come going forward, that you come together as a council and formulate a proper response and feed in. So I will send that. I would like you, please, if you can, to have a look at it. If you have questions that I need to follow up, I would ask that actually you come back to me and let me know what those are. But I do actually very much encourage you to become as familiar as possible with what they are proposing, because there are some significant changes.
Thank you.
That's it from me.
Right, now I can move on to financial matters. Rob, thank you very much for being so patient.
No problem. I don't have a huge amount to say in any case because almost nothing has happened, as is usually the case. We still have a very healthy bank balance of £20,000 plus, but that includes £800 or so for the spring fund and about £1,900 for the playground. The checks that we had problems with before to Walk and Community First have been approved, along with the check to Polly for help with restoration of the spring fund. The check to the Information Commissioner, which was sent a long while ago, still seems not to have been processed as far as the bank has let me know. So I'm not sure what the situation there is, but they are apparently very slow in processing things which are actually sent by check, which is such an unusual phenomenon nowadays. I have here an invoice from Ben Owen for grass cutting, which needs approval. The amount is £570, which is £5 more than it has been for the last couple of years. So can I have approval for that to be signed and dispatched in the usual Zoom-based way?
Do we all have to approve it? Is everybody in favour of that?
Yes.
We don't have to have first and a second, or we just approve it, do we not?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you should
That's
have
fine,
it
Rob.
agreed in your budget, so you
And,
should.
there's a much more controversial invoice from Robert Carpenter Turner, whoever that is, for 2 or is it 3 years of website maintenance for £21.56. Can we?
I hope that's okay, everybody. It's actually the domain name which I've bought for the next 3 years because I thought it was important we kept it. Such an easy thing to forget.
Well, the only other item of any interest at all, which is about interest, is 72 pence of bank interest, which has been credited to us. The accounts and so on are all part of the papers, I imagine, and that's about as much as I need to say. We did finally sort out the IGAR and the end of year accounts and certificate of exemption, and that all happened as it should have done. So everything is in order for the handover, which is now about to happen. The only other thing I want to add as completely off agenda is I recognise that there is a shortage of councillors, and it's been mentioned to me by a couple of people that I might be an appropriate candidate. I'm not sure I am an appropriate candidate, but I think in the circumstances, despite my non-permanent residence here and probable inability to attend physical meetings on a number of occasions, I'm happy to be open to suggestions that I should become one and restore a little bit of balance to the council. That doesn't require an answer now.
It slightly shocked me that Rob, purely I don't mean shocked, but I do believe Michael Golding has got somebody in mind. I don't know if that's going to come forward, but he is from one of the other villages, which might be important.
Absolutely.
Can I just say something about the springs?
Yes, Polly.
Well, it seems that Oxford College, New College, Oxford.
Yeah, that's not confirmed yet. I don't think you were supposed to say that.
All right, okay. I spoke to Dave and he said they're going to do it.
All right then. Well, you can be the one.
Okay. Well, yeah, I spoke to Dave Carson, and I think, okay, well, it's not definite that Oxford, New College Oxford, are going to get involved with renovation of the springs.
That's excellent news, is it
It's
not?
brilliant news. Yeah. So, but anyway, let's not minute that just in case. But
Polly, when we say renovation, we just mean clearing it out. We don't mean building a fountain or anything stupid.
No. They're going to actually do this. What I've been doing is I can't get people to do the springs because it's so deep. But what I've been doing is getting people to clear the stream that goes away from the springs, because that's doable. But in fact, I think that New College Oxford are very interested now in renovating the springs, but maybe we don't minute that just in case.
Okay.
Well, I don't too excited yet.
No, exactly.
Thank you.
Space, yeah.
Rob, would you like to come back onto financial matters now?
It's really not up to me anymore to receive the resignation. I didn't know I had resigned. I thought it was another process, but yes, that's what's happening.
And to approve the bank mandate, which I'm going to sign tomorrow. Is that correct? When we hand over
yes,
to Elizabeth.
it's all. I've prepared all that ready for signatures, and it will then go into the machine, which is Lloyd's Bank, and it may come out the other end or it may not.
Fine. And we all agree that the clerk, so I'm going back to D, I beg your pardon, agree that the clerk acts for us in the financial department. Is that everybody happy with that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I can now move on from financial, can I? If we're moving on, can I say thank you very much to Rob on all our behalves, because he seems to have sorted out a whole lot of skeletons that were literally in the cupboard.
Yeah.
And that's really good news. And we've now should have correct mandates for the correct people for the parish council. Thank you, Rob, and thank you very much.
Rob.
Much appreciated. Right. I think this is you, Elizabeth, to discuss the option and assisting with the maintenance of the parish. It's everybody, defibrillator, and the options for the future replacement. Did you all look at the documents that were up about the defibrillator? We were asked, Polly was there and so was I, we were asked by the treasurer of the Coronation Hall if we would offer to pay part or the lot for the new battery, which is about £200 for 4 years. Polly, is that correct?
I think it was, yeah.
4 years. I don't know what other people think, but I personally think it's probably a fairly important village matter that we maintain it and keep it correct. What do others think?
I think we should.
Agree.
I was a bit confused at first because when the defibs first came out and things, the batteries didn't run out unless they were used, and then you had to change them the second that somebody was zapped. either that has changed and the batteries degrade on their own, or has somebody actually checked the battery?
Hold on a second, Elizabeth.
The actual setup of defibrillators, they have a lifespan of 10 years, and the actual batteries within them have the lifespan of 4.
Right.
The only thing that would need to be changed if you use it at any one time are the pads to which you're using them for hygienic reasons. So you need a set that you can use immediately and an extra set just in case they get used the next day, because you're just never going to know when you're going to need it. But the actual the battery is predominantly meant to keep the unit temperaturized, so in the wintertime things don't freeze, the lights on them work properly, and it's supposed to keep it ticking over. It runs at a very low level, which is why you get 4 years out of one battery.
Is it not connected to the mains in any way?
I'm sorry?
Is it not connected to the mains in any way?
You are meant to connect them to the mains. That's what has been done locally here and in another parish council. You are meant to be low, and they have a trickle feed, but even then the life of the battery can only absorb so much over so much time. So it will still actually, no different than your mobile phone. Once the battery is done, it will stop charging. So it only has a lifespan of 4 years overall.
That's fair enough. It's obviously changed to when I used to buy them, so that's fine.
I think the consideration is, do we wish to take the whole thing on as a parish, or do we from the village hall, or do we, sorry, Elizabeth, you're looking on to say something?
I will. Yeah, I just want to say we're not prepared at this meeting, just so you are aware, to make a decision of if we take it on or if we don't. I will happily take informal views of that. I think that's important, but I think you need costings of what it would be, the implication to the council, either direction, and what that actually means going forward. So you can actually give a grant, and that could be a short-term method for how you deal with things. Certainly how we've set it up previously, or how I have in the previous times, is we've had a unit that's been brought to the village, and it's been on lease, and you pay a fee. It's maintained. It's owned by the actual ambulance service. They provide a yearly event where they come out and they do a training session so that people can do refreshers, which I think, overall has been quite useful and valuable, especially if you have new residents coming in or people who need that. So I think it's really looking as a council how you address this and what you're looking for long term. But I think you need to be aware there's going to be costings that'll be very different depending on how you go, and you'll have to forecast on one or agree a grant. So really, I think tonight is about you discussing what you'd like to see, and then I can take it away and do the research.
What will you all like
well,
to see?
I'd like to see that we at least give half. So we split it with the village hall committee.
What do you think, Carol?
Yeah, I'd be happy with that.
Alex, what do you think?
Yeah, I think things like defibrillators probably are the sort of things that a parish council should be involved with and be supporting, because they're sort of fundamental to life safety in the community. So it would seem appropriate to me. Obviously, I guess, you've got to look at the finances of it, but it would seem appropriate to me.
And what do you think, Hayley?
Yeah, I agree. I think the parish council should put money towards it.
Do you think money towards it or the whole thing? What's the general feeling?
I think half.
Yes, I think half.
The village hall committee can, add to it too, no?
Okay, no, I feel myself, personally speaking, I think it's a parish thing, while the village hall committee, the village hall itself it doesn't get a grant of any, well, it gets grants from different purposes, but it doesn't have a rate. And we do have a rate. And I just wonder if we should consider taking it on completely. I'm not saying we should. I'm just
see how much
if I am still RFO for the next little while,
yes, go on.
I would have thought, from a financial point of view, it is an appropriate burden for the parish to take on, responsibility for the parish to take on, and it doesn't naturally fit with the Coronation Hall anyway.
I think that's the right attitude personally, but shall we ask Elizabeth to look into it and give us some options, like paying half or taking on the whole maintenance? Sorry, Alex, you were going to say something.
Because one thing, because it is interesting about, it does seem to be an appropriate responsibility for parish council, because there's another defibrillator down by the barge, isn't there? So I suppose
I don't think it's there any longer. I'm
Oh,
not
it's gone,
sure.
has it? Okay. I was
I
going to
think
say
that
that it may be in a situation where another one comes up where we're asked to look
Yeah.
after more than one, but
And you do need to look also, and I'll put this in the report, because they do say, certainly what we've had here locally is they look at the distance between the radius or the outlay of your village and how much time it takes or would potentially take you to get to that unit versus another, which is why for us locally, we're not a very huge village, but we've got 3, because if you look at the time a person would take to actually pass away in an emergency, it would be far too long for someone one end of the village to get to the one and only defibrillator down the other end of the village and back, and therefore it almost becomes defunct on the basis that it's too far away. So I mean, that is something that I'm actually happy to roll in, so you can make an educated decision based on all the options. I did put in my report some outstanding questions that I don't have information for, and I would be grateful and ask the council please to address those more formally. It may be something for Polly or for Robert to come back at, because it appears that this is an asset that belongs to the village hall at the moment, at least on the face of it. And I would just like confirmation. There's 4 questions that I put on there. How old is the current defibrillator?
Yeah.
Who supplied it, what the original purchase cost was, and is there a current ROTA scheme to test it? Because certainly the ones I've been involved in have to be tested regularly and reported on.
I can't answer that. Polly, can you?
Oh, it was actually supplied by, I think the Barge Inn raised the money, didn't they?
No, didn't they raise the money for one out in the Barge Inn?
I think they raised the money for ours, actually. And
But
then what was left went towards one at the barge. Yeah, so I don't know the answer to that. I'm really happy for the parish council to take on the whole responsibility for it. But I can try and find out how it originated. I have a feeling it was because of efforts made by the Barge Inn.
But you may be right. Elizabeth, Polly and I, between us, or Polly, will find out the answers to those questions.
Okay.
And you will advise the parish council on what options they have.
Yes, I'll do a report for you, and if you have any questions in the meantime, surely come back to me. But I'll do more of a condensed report like this so you can see the options that I've explored.
Yeah, I'd definitely like to see the costs before we make any final decision, because I agree, one defib in this village is laughable. So having the people who live next door to the hall, the rest of us, the person be dead before we got there. So,
okay. Well, may I move on from that now, everybody? Has anybody got anything else to say? So we're going to move on, and we're going to consider and approve. We're going to write the village newsletter. I think it's time we had one. As you will have seen in the emails, Alex has offered to write it. Are you happy for him to do that, or does anybody else want to do it?
Fine by me.
I've made a brief list, and I'm going to suggest we send them the newsletter. Shall I just tell you, in no particular order, excluding what Rob's just said about we desperately need an extra councillor. I put that down as the top. I want everybody to know that the village hall is a COVID secure centre for people to do things like yoga in, and they're up to 30 people are allowed in the hall at the moment.
Oh, hang on. I think you might find that has changed.
When?
I I had an email from Ruth Hepworth.
About half an hour before we came out.
Well, not long ago, but I think that we may have, well, I may have misinterpreted it, but
Well-
the email from Ruth seemed to suggest that it was up to only 6 people. So can you check that with Ruth? Before we
I'll
go
check
in.
that tonight. Tomorrow, I'll
Yeah.
check that tomorrow and let you all know, because that will concern people doing yoga in the hall and all.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well,
exactly.
yeah.
All I was going on to say was that I would like the newsletter to be as cheerful as possible when we've got the no Christmas party to say. We've got, because they're social events, we've got to stop all the coffee mornings at the moment. I'd also like it to mention that I've had to replace the WhatsApp group, the Altons and Honey Street WhatsApp group. I had to close it down last week because we've had some very nasty hacking onto it, and I don't put it on the website ever again for people.
No.
We did that to start with so that people could get it with COVID. We thought it would be helpful. Anyway, I mean, it's proved incredibly useful for people for different things. So I would like to reinstate it and probably put the code and how to get on it on the newsletter. And I thought we could announce the yoga as well, Carol, and anything else we want.
Yeah, well, yes, Alex, I'm the one who set it all up and sees to the money and all that side of it. So if you need any information, I can give you anything you need to put in. But so far, there's not a huge amount, but they are having such good fun. The hall is, as Robert said, totally COVID free. And when I go and open it before yoga, I clean everything down again, and I clean it as I leave as well. So it's actually spotless at the minute.
I think that's really good. Thank you very much. Sorry, somebody wanted to
Well
say
done, Carol.
something.
Thank you.
Um,
Be in touch.
Polly, was that you trying to say something?
No, when is yoga? I didn't even know yoga was happening.
It's on a Sunday morning, 10:30.
I'm waiting to be sent a poster to put on the website.
It's getting sorted.
Sorry, please do contact Ruth Hepworth, who is the secretary of the Village Hall Committee, who has got the latest information. Know that we're on the 6 rule.
Yes, but I had one off Ruth the other day saying it's different because it's classed as teaching.
Well, that could well be it. But honestly, I got an email yesterday or today, and I didn't quite understand it. And it looked to me like groups had to be no more than 6. But I'm not saying that's gospel. But can you please check with Ruth?
Polly, all we can do is get the very latest, and it can change until the 5 minutes before the newsletter is printed.
Absolutely.
As far as I'm concerned.
Check with Ruth. Ruth knows about the Village Hall.
Is there anything else we need to put on the notice board, on the village newsletter?
Can I just go back to the yoga? I think it's really important. Beverly, who's running it, is so qualified. It's unbelievable. She's my sister-in-law, and she's Alex's sister. She is not charging for her time or her qualifications or teaching people. She is only charging, she has to obviously carry insurance because everybody gets hurt, and her travel from Alton to here and back. So any money that's over that is going to the Coronation Hall funds.
That's absolutely marvelous.
Brilliant.
Marvelous.
Totally doing it for free. Yeah.
Great.
You're generous of her.
May I move on from the newsletter?
Yes.
And can I ask you all to send, probably Elizabeth, if she could collate it and give it to Alex, all the things that we do need? And
Can do that.
are we all happy with that? Can I move on?
Yeah.
And let's say we'd like to get the newsletter out second week in October, something like that. Does that sound about right? May I move on?
Yeah.
To receive for information, correspondence and circulars. This is you, I believe, Elizabeth.
Well, I've given you information on a circular that you will be receiving. You've had a few other briefing notes that have come down centrally from Wiltshire, and I'll include them in the minutes. One was about a library opening. Yes, sorry, bear with me. I will include all of them, all the briefing notes and where to find them, the links and everything in the minutes here, but you've all had them circulated to you prior to this meeting. And they're just basically the legal notes and briefings that come from Wiltshire. So I've not got anything more to add to that.
Thank you. Can I move on to consider items of maintenance?
Yeah.
Is that you again, Elizabeth? Yes.
Well, I've had an email from Edward Ferguson and a phone call regarding some roadworks and things that need to be done that have not been done properly or haven't been addressed by Wiltshire. And I just wanted to let you all know that I've received this, and I am actually going to follow it up. Otherwise, the items of maintenance or anything else you'd like to add to that, and I'll be happy to go ahead and contribute. The only other thing of items of maintenance I will say is I have not yet received the autumn schedule for your parish steward. I do realize that I think that my take on being with you so far is that he hasn't made himself all that known to the village. That's the feedback I'm getting. So I am trying to unpick that and find out why and what that actually means to Wiltshire and how that translates to you guys. So I'll come back with information as I get it, but the last dates I had was for September, and I've chased up for anything going on into autumn. But watch this area because I'll let you know.
Can I clarify, Elizabeth? Are these items of maintenance that we're expecting the parish steward to deal with, or are they just items of maintenance generally within the parish?
They're both. They're both.
Well, obviously the playground will need maintenance and need its ROSPA report, but it's been a while since it had any maintenance, and some of the things like the pressure washing the bird guano off the climbing frame and the equipment is something that's supposed to be done more like on a monthly basis, which we can't afford, but it probably does need to be done 3 monthly, 6 monthly, an absolute push.
Okay.
Who did it last time, Alex? For us, can you remember?
It was part of the contractor who was doing the repairs, but I'm not sure we could afford that again. But I mean, it's something there should be a maintenance contract on, just from a health and safety point of view. Because ROSPA always score us badly on that one.
I know when I came out and had a look after the COVID stuff, I may be speaking completely out of turn, so you are welcome to tell me. But I do think that you have some scope to improve your playground area, and it may be a topic of conversation for the budget setting for next year, because you've got quite a large play area, but nowhere to necessarily sit. It would also be a good area to impart information to your parish, and there's nothing there that facilitates that necessarily. So I think that you have, and you are right about the pressure washing, because I did notice that at the same time, and it hadn't been that long since actually you had the maintenance people out, but you know, birds in their ways. So it is just something, I think you're absolutely right. There could be some genuine improvements on, and it may be something to look at, but I can certainly go away and make some contacts and come back to you.
Yeah.
Rob?
Just a second, there is a ring-fenced fund to support this ongoing expenditure, and there is plenty in it, in that what's ring-fenced above and beyond the usual grass cutting and so on, to support something of that sort.
Thank you. May we move on now, or are we all happy to move on?
Mm-hmm.
Key messages, Elizabeth.
Well, I think you've touched on a lot of what you're put into the newsletter and out of the minutes. You know, I think some of just the general information that has come perhaps I don't know. I'm asking Robert, what do you think as far as the importance of some of the highlighted areas? If you have specific areas of this agenda that you would like me to go ahead and put out, I don't know how large of the newsletter you would like. I can do, there could be a condensed minutes. Some parishes put their entire minutes into the newsletter. It just depends on what you would like to do, and I'm happy to feedback with that.
I personally, that we usually try to keep the newsletter to one side.
Okay.
And it's usually, I mean, correct me, there's nothing to stop us making it completely different, but we usually try and keep it to one side and with useful information.
Yep.
I've forgotten my list. There might be something the churches would like to say on the newsletter, Alex, which would be important. And I haven't got anything precise, but if we think it's a good idea to make the newsletter enormous, we can, but it's not meant to have the minutes in, because the minutes are readable and the minutes are posted up on the notice boards.
Yeah. We can just add a link if you like, and at least it highlights it, that it could be as simple as that.
Yes,
so.
And I mean, that's another thing we need on the village newsletter is obviously the website.
Yeah.
Can I move on now? Anybody? Next meeting. Are you all happy with Thursday, the 19th of November?
Yeah.
Are you happy, Hayley?
Yeah, should be around.
Polly?
Yeah, fine.
Are you okay, Alex?
And it was the 19th of December, was it?
Yeah. No, November.
November, okay, that's okay. So it's going to be close to Christmas. Yeah.
And Rob, we may or may not need you. We'll let you know. Now, this is where we close the meeting. And Elizabeth, I'm going to leave it to you now to tell people what to do.
Yeah, bear with me real quick. I'm gonna look to close the meeting. Hang on just a minute. Wait, just a minute, Rob.
Yeah, well, I think I am now a member of the public, and
You
I
are.
should, yeah, and I should leave the meeting.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And thank you very much, Rob.
Okay.
Thank you, Rob.